Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 5 of Our Stories, a 6-week international virtual festival celebrating our common human and unique beauty of diverse experiences. I'm Kawal Rahman, AA and CC board member and co-curator of the Our Stories Virtual Festival. We will be recording this event. This event is part of our fall 2020 season, Cultivating Connections, which focuses on the connections we all have to each other and to nature. A Bag of Rocks per Bag of Rice is an installation created by artist Fang Hong specifically for AA and CC's Asian Arts Gallery. It engages East Asian gardens to integrate histories of empire, wealth, privilege, and exploitation responsible for ecological extraction and displacement. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, an all too real example of the very issues Huang illuminates, access to the exhibit is virtual through AA and CC's website. Go to www.towson.edu/asianarts and select programs and exhibits on the sidebar. We'll put that in the chat. There you will also find an informational PDF about the exhibit and a Zoom background you can download. If you are a Towson University student, faculty, or staff member, you can make an appointment to see the exhibit by emailing asianarts@towson.edu. We'll put that in the chat too. Our last episode in the Our Story series will be next week, Thursday, November 5th at 7 p.m. I know, it's coming to a close so soon. Then we will have a final workshop for the semester, Pollinator Gardening, Designing Sustainable Habitats, with Blue Water Baltimore and Fang Hong on Saturday, November 14th at 11 a.m. You can get more info about these events and register for them with the link that will be provided in the chat. We also have a limited number of Korean kite making kits that integrate art, social studies, and engineering. The Our Stories project has actually been many years in the making. In 2014, we envisioned a physically multicultural, interdisciplinary, and multi-generational festival highlighting connections across communities and the arts through stories. It just never happened. Then COVID hit. We started to consider how we could continue to connect with our audiences virtually in ways to bring people together through the diverse arts and cultures of the world, with an emphasis on Asia. We realized that our stories might work well virtually. Around that time, I offered to volunteer for AA and CC. Joanna and I discussed this project, and I was eager to help. We are thrilled to present 27 storytellers from Baltimore and beyond on Thursdays from October 1st through November 5th, who share their passions, experiences, concerns, and favorite stories with you. You can find details about the whole festival on our website. AA and CC is a self-support department of Towson University. Well, what does that mean? That means we have to raise all of the money needed for our operations and programs from memberships, grants, sponsorships, and individual donations. Please make a donation tonight to show your support by going to our website. You can donate from almost any page on the sidebar. There is also a Support Us page, which describes the many ways you can support. We'll put a link to the donation in the chat. Before turning the program over to our storytellers, I would like to thank our primary donors who have made this season's programming possible. E. Rose and Leona B. Carpenter Foundation, Maryland State Arts Council, Yoshinobu and Kathleen Shiota, William B. Baker Jr. Memorial Fund, Central Baltimore Partnership, AA and CC members, TU College of Fine Arts and Communication, Citizens of Baltimore County, Roe and Maurice P. Johnson Legacy Charitable Fund, the Harold J. Kaplan Foundation, TU COFAC Diversity and Inclusion Committee, TU Marketing and Communications, TU BTU Presidential Priority, Robert Mintz and Beth Arman, Anthony and Bonnie Montecalmo, Alexander Nagel, Connie Rosemount, and John Greenberg. Thank you to those who support us. For those of you who have not contributed, please know that every dollar counts. Please donate $1 more tonight by visiting our site. Finally, please complete our evaluation form after the program. Your feedback is essential to keeping our programs funded. We will put that link in the chat. Now, I'd like to introduce our first storyteller of the night, Caroline Maya. Caroline joins us all the way from England. She's a woman of few words, but when she does speak, her words are of power, hope, and love. She describes herself as a human exploring different avenues of artistic expression. This includes music, writing, and poetry. She hopes to use her art and words to educate, inspire, and entertain. And without further ado, Caroline. Hi.
Hi.
It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
No, thank you so much.
So my piece is called Home, and it's a spoken word piece. Home is where the heart is. Maybe that's why I get butterflies each and every time I step off my flight. And I close my eyes to inhale, soaking in the scent of my roots. I am reunited with gleaming plains and wonder in awe at the landscapes lined with emerald green trees that contrast with the brown sand which they grow from. As the warm air hugs my skin, as if to say, welcome back, reassuring me that I'm in safe hands. Home is where the heart is, where smiling faces line the streets, children with no more than the shirt on their back and the shoes on their feet, carefree, grinning as they play because for them, being alive is enough. Home is where women with colorful material draped around their waists and babies on their backs, carrying the next generation of the world on their shoulders. They bear baskets on their heads laden with snacks or fresh produce, doing what they can to make it, as they chatter with their neighbors in the bustle of the marketplace. Home is where men on bicycles stop and approach you, smiling, knowing that you probably don't really need whatever they're trying to sell you, woven baskets, brooms, clothes, shoes, whatever they can get their hands on. But you listen anyway, and eventually give in, applauding their efforts to push their business because for these people, the hustle never stops. Home is where the pace of life slows down and the birds capitalize on this, offering sweet serenades at sunrise, soothing sounds that say, well done. You've made it through the night. Welcome to a new day. Home is where the heart is. It's where a moment of shared laughter, belting from the depth of our bellies, drowns out the cares of this world that keeps us so easily entangled. It's a place that has been written off as dry and barren, but continues to thrive, where richness of culture is the currency, where everything isn't perfect, but somehow everything is okay. I came here with a heavy heart, but as I take in the enthralling scenes of a place filled with so many memories, my heart becomes lighter, my smile becomes bigger. Every time I come back here, I feel so alive. So here I am once again, home. It feels good to be home. Thank you.
I feel like I should have unmuted myself because I was snapping so much throughout all of it. Thank you so, so much. That was amazing. I know that for you, England is home, but I feel like that's, from what I can tell from your piece, that's not where your heart is at all. And that's okay. That's okay to admit, because sometimes the places that, you know, maybe we reside, but it's not the place that where we feel like we belong, or not the place that, you know, is really close to our heart, and that's okay. But no, it was such a beautiful piece. And I know where you're from, but would you mind telling the audience so that they can know what home is for you?
Okay, so I'm from a small country in Africa called Malawi. Yeah, so I was born there, but I came here when I was very young. So I've lived in England for most of my life. but I still have the struggle of like home, this isn't really home. But then when I go home, I feel different. Like I was home, we just got back last week, I think. And it was just, like I said in the piece, like I just came alive when I got there. It was strange to me, but it's good feeling all the same.
I love that. No, I completely understand. I still live in the United States, but I moved literally from one side of the country to the other. And I think, when I finally go home to visit my parents and my brothers and my family, that I have that exact feeling. Like I feel like I'm finally like I'm opened up and I can see things, and it's just amazing. So I don't have to probably travel as far as you do to get to my, my happy place, my home, but I do understand. Um, just so everybody watching, all our audience members, if you have any questions for Caroline, please, please, please do not hesitate to put them in the chat. But I would like to ask like one quick question. Where do you kind of pull your inspiration from for your spoken word? I know that this particular piece was inspired by, the love that you have for the country where you were born and where you probably have so much family. But even for other pieces that you might do, like what kind of inspires your spoken word?
It seems really cliche, but it's just like mundane, everyday things. Like, but sometimes it actually draws from personal experience. So maybe something that I've gone through, and I don't really know how to explain it to anyone else. So I'll just get a pen and pad and just write whatever comes to me. But I might literally like see a person walking and they're wearing like green shoes, and I write about green shoes. So it
I
varies,
love
really.
it. Oh, so we have a question from Amy Skillman. How often do you get to go home to Malawi?
Good question, actually. Every few years, I tend to go. So
And
before,
you were there recently, right?
yes, we went there the beginning of October. So we were there for like 2 weeks, and we just got back last week.
That's awesome. That must have been so amazing. I haven't visited my parents' home country in such a long time. So I envy you so much. I really do. Um, we have another question um, from Narisa. Hi, Narisa. Do you write every day?
No, I'm ashamed to say I don't. I say I should, but I don't.
It's okay. Honestly, I think that's like 100% fine. You write when you're inspired. You write when you have something to say, and I don't think not everybody has something to say on a daily basis. So it's okay. And some pieces, like I know personally, like when I do any kind of poetry or spoken word, sometimes I can finish it right then and there, but sometimes it takes a day or two to kind of like finish something. Sometimes you have to start it and then just let it rest before you can go back to it because you need to give yourself like a mental break. But I guess, do we have another question in the chat? I have a question from Julia Morris. Do you feel more inspired to write when you visit Malawi?
Hi, Julia. That's my friend. I did actually this time. So I made a few notes. Like you're saying, I never really write a full piece in one go. So there were moments when like I'd see something and I'd be like, oh, I need to write about that. And I'll just like make a note about it in my phone. So that happened a lot more while I was there. It was almost every day I got like little prompts.
Gotcha. So then I have one last question before we head to our new storyteller, and I hope it's okay. But I wanted to ask, like, what changes do you hope to see in kind of like the enlightenment or, people accepting or learning about the culture in Malawi, specifically like in England? Do you feel like Malawi is a well-known country? Do you feel that people who do know about it have a good image of it? And, what do you hope to see the world to see Malawi for in the future?
Okay. I would hope that the world looks on, I think, third world countries in general more positively, because usually like a lot of the images we're fed are like negative and people starving and poverty and all these kind of things. So what I deliberately tried to do, if you noticed, was take those things and sort of show the beauty in it. So the things that we often look past, like women in the street selling fruits, it's an everyday thing while you're there. But to me, it was like these people are really doing their best with what they have to do better. And yeah, so I just appreciate that more positive narrative of Africa and third world countries more.
I absolutely love that. And yes, I totally felt that in your piece. Um, you know, the whole time, everything you were describing, I felt like I could picture myself there, and it was nothing but beautiful. Um, so definitely, I think you definitely your spoken word, it did wonders. You did exactly what you were striving to do. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for being with us. If anybody else has any questions for Caroline, we weren't able to get it. You didn't get time to quickly type it fast enough before we got to the last question. Please don't hesitate to put it in the chat, and then hopefully, Caroline, you can kind of go back into the chat and maybe answer some questions if anybody has something directed to you.
Fine. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Caroline. All right. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our second storyteller for today, Adrianna Morgan. Close friend of mine, if I do say so myself, but navigating her identity as a first-generation Trinidadian American, Adrianna was raised in a variety of spheres that created confusion, comfort, and clarity. These variances of spheres had her question the amount of assimilation she was going to engage in, as her surroundings contrasted greatly from her Caribbean upbringing. She's chosen the arts as the main avenue of her cultural exploration. The visual arts has empowered her to, one, connect to her culture in her own way, and two, utilize and explore an avenue that all cultures have, allowing her work to be seen as approachable and accessible, even though it can be personal and specific. Adriana's message is to love what makes you, you, explore it, and to be sure to remain open to learning about and experiencing the identities of others as well. So without further ado, Adrianna.
I remember hearing the oohs and ahs walking down the aisle of kids and parents as Trinidad and Tobago was called out during our annual Diversity Day celebration. I was put into a French immersion program at an international magnet elementary school. That's a mouthful, I know, where students' cultures were celebrated. I may have looked cute, but I also vividly remember hating that I had to wear a giant red thing on my head, basically the size of my head at the time, and having to wear off-the-shoulder sleeves. Why couldn't I wear my sleeves the way I had been for all the 5 years of my life? This dress was as Trini as you could get on such a small canvas. The colors were that of the Trinidadian flag, red, white, and black, and the black panels of the overskirt showed some national treasures like the hummingbird and the chaconia flower, seen on the front, and on the back, the steel drum. And again, can't miss the giant hibiscus flower on my head. But I remember enjoying this day, and I expected to walk for every Diversity Day after that. This was my first experience with cultural wear. My parents spoiling their only child, having it made just for me, sent to Baltimore, all the way from TNT, to represent their country. A country that at this point I had only been to once. I was born and raised in a predominantly Jewish suburb here in Baltimore, and even consider many community members to be family. Dare I say, I've interacted with them more than my own family. Doesn't mean I love them any less. I still live here, and the company I work for is Jewish owned and managed. Jewish culture was just a very prominent part of my life growing up. Shabbat dinner with my friend and her bubby, eating blueberry blintzes. Friends in school sharing their crushed matzah PB&Js with me at lunchtime during Passover, and going to countless bat and bar mitzvahs. And who didn't have a friend you did all the Hanukkah things with? No? That was all very normal for me. Now, all of that, alongside our family's Christian practices and customs, going to our very American Methodist church on Sundays, eating fish on Good Fridays, And Christmas, of course. But Trinidadian Christmas. Now that has its own unique set of traditions and ever-present Latin cultural influences. Then throw in eating sawain for Eid and lighting diyas for Diwali, and that was my religious cultural upbringing in a nutshell. If you're already like, geez, that's a lot. Well, we're just getting started. Let's bring on some real confusion, shall we? I remember feeling clueless on how to decorate my now dried plaster mask base that I had spent so long working on in my after-school art program in middle school. I thought to myself, well, what masks have I seen before to help me decide? As I finished gluing down the last few gems, my teacher comes around excitedly and says, "Ooh, like Mardi Gras." And I remember thinking to myself, no, like Carnival. Remember when I said we're in the confusion part of this journey? Well, I'll give you a clue. Something's off with the design of my mask. I go home super proud. I was so happy with everything about my mask. I had just created my first carnival-themed art object. So I go to show my dad, thinking he's gonna rave about it as much as my art teacher. He takes one look at it and he says, "You painted the flag backwards." Not gonna lie, I felt pretty embarrassed because not only was the flag backwards, the arrangement of the colors wasn't right either. It just showed my level of Trinidadian cultural consciousness at the time. I was really trying so hard to remember what the flag looked like, not having anything readily available to reference. And to be fair, I was very close. I was just starting to scratch the surface, in this case, paint the surface, with all of this identity discovery and affinity business. I will say, I wasn't sure what would be acceptable to talk about or share in relation to my West Indian Caribbean-ness in middle school, without being looked at like I was crazy. Was I supposed to know about and like what everyone else liked? Well, I did and I didn't. I knew I was different, being more familiar with and favoring Caribbean music over popular music, or popular American music, rather. Not saying I rejected American music 100%. And I mean, engaging in pop culture wasn't a task. I lived here, and I watched a lot of TV, as any kid does. My closest friend groups were pretty much all American Americans, with a handful that had some one generation up tie to a different country, like Israel, the Philippines, and Jamaica. I met only one other Trinidadian in middle school. I actually had a crush on him. But he didn't know about the things that I knew about. In one instance, he had made fun of me for talking about chutney, the name of an Indo-Caribbean style of music and dance that I absolutely love, because the name sounded weird to him. I remember feeling deeply embarrassed about something so small like that, and I guess let down from getting so unnecessarily excited to try and share an assumed commonality. So while I was floating between friend groups, I was not trying to stand out and be super loud about my culture. My high school was similar in feeling to my elementary school. It nurtured differences. It fostered the development of its artists' individual perceptions and outlooks. Everyone was revered here for uniqueness. There wasn't anything to strive to fit into, aside from being part of the highly skilled group in your class or department. Remember that little girl who was not about wearing a giant flower on her head? You'll see what high school me came around and did. This costume, my senior piece in high school, was my absolute pride and joy. I had decided that I wanted to tackle my first full carnival costume in my sculpture elective, challenging myself to use unconventional materials to achieve cost efficiency in an environmentally conscious manner. Just as an example, all of the leaves were made from superworn jeans, and the skirt's structure was made from placemats. I was given the opportunity to model this piece at the Embassy Chef Challenge, shown here in DC at a booth representing the cuisine of Trinidad and Tobago. I was also invited to wear this at the Baltimore City annual Carnival kickoff event for Caribbean Heritage Month. I realized here that my focus in the arts, visual and dance, was not only well received in its execution and public presentation, but it was able to function as an extension of my own deep cultural exploration through physical media. I had reached a point of comfort with just a peek into clarity. Without a doubt, I injected my culture and identity exploration in every way I could in college, in classes and in extracurriculars. Now, in terms of confusion, comfort, and clarity, I felt it all here, as I'm sure many of us have experienced. College can be a magical time. Opportunities to explore my identity and its relation to others were available through campus involvement, but I definitely experienced some mental roadblocks, particularly on how I would be perceived and how I viewed myself. Was I Indian enough for this club? Was I African enough for that club? Was I some different type of Caribbean to those in this association? Funny enough, I felt like I was more so swooped up by our university's Latinx community. Even those I deemed closest to me, in this sense romantically, my identity crisis infiltrated those relationships. The culture clash yielded beautiful connections, for sure, but also produced substantial amounts of strife. It has not been easy. The exes can attest. And while I could have been a part of all the things on campus, in the end, I was still in school and I had a diploma to get. But honestly, I found a lot of comfort in the art building. That was home base. I created this floral illustration and I ran with it. These pieces were from 5 separate classes. Going off the accounts of family members to figure out our lineage, I took the national flower from each area I was informed of and fashioned a hybrid flower in the form of Trinidad and Tobago's national flower, the Chaconia. I've always wanted to take a DNA test to compare my results with family stories, and even after having me send in a second saliva sample, my results have been updated by the company about 5 times. As of now, my percentage breakdown includes a total of 15 areas, so here is a super generalized quick version. I am 57% Indian, 30% African, 8% white, and 5% Latino Hispanic. I have a few memories of my dad correcting me when people would ask where I was from or what I was. I thought it was simple. I would reply and say, I'm Trinidadian. And he would say, no, you're American. I didn't understand, 1, what he meant by this, 2, why he was saying this, and 3, how am I being identified as something different to my parents? In my head, I figured I was produced by 2 Trinidadians, so by my math, I didn't see how I was to be categorized differently. I didn't understand what American was and what that had to do with me exactly. I will say, my mom would come to the rescue and try to clarify things for the both of us. Ironically enough, when I go to Trinidad, I don't feel like I fit in any better. I physically look the part, and I know some things, but once I speak, the illusion is lifted. I feel different. I comport myself differently. It goes past the ethnic makeup. Must be the American in me. I've been assumed a plethora of races and ethnicities throughout my life, being stumped, not knowing what to put on US-based surveys tabulating these things. I'm even challenged to closely look at my identity in the scope of conversations around racial injustice, even with this being the bottom line. I am brown. I live in the US. I'm a minority. I'm impacted, as are countless others. Serious systematic change needs to continue to occur. As an upperclassman, I needed a mental breather from all the deep digging and wavering certainty on this identity topic. I needed a simplified, neat, representational way to express what I wanted to design-wise. My straightforward starting point with this was just that. I'm Trinidadian, American, period. I feel I can officially carry this label because it coincides with my dual citizenship status. I'm equal parts, equally weighted. There's an ever-present duality between where I was born and how I identify, yet how I am deeply both. This status serves as a form of validation for me. We were assigned to create small ceramic art objects using a very specific process. Gonna quickly throw some production terms at you. We took a 3D scan, had it CNC milled into a plaster block to be used as a mold to then produce multiple porcelain slip casts. But I was determined to make at least one of them relevant to my chosen theme using easily recognizable symbolism, each nation's flag. Remember my middle school mask? I didn't mess up painting the Trinidadian flag this time. Again, delving into patriotic symbolism, I drew inspiration from the coat of arms of TNT and the US State Seal, replicating and exaggerating features found in each. I got back to wearable art and using my preferred creative processes with a sprinkle of 3D printing for my senior piece. Not gonna lie, this carnival costume kicked my high school senior piece's butt. This piece even went on to receive a Growing Leaders Award, as well as a generous monetary sum, in a local wearable arts competition. I was immensely proud to graduate from college with this one. This is a sampling of where I am today. Today being the last 3 years. Making some of these takes a lot out of me while balancing life and a full-time job. I've continued with self-initiated research and cross-referencing with family members, so here I explored cultural aspects that I've encountered firsthand. Cultural wear. Using envelopes to create a full gown inspired by a lenga choli, a traditional Indian dress style. Produce and agriculture. Creating a quick collection based on the produce that my family and I indulge in every time we go to Trinidad. And cuisine and nature. Pepper sauce is life in the Caribbean, and the hottest pepper in the world was once the scorpion pepper, so I decided to combine the forms of the pepper plant and the scorpion into a wearable piece. And now, with clarity and confidence, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Adrianna Morgan. I am a Trinidadian American with a uniquely diverse racial makeup and a beautifully complicated medley of an upbringing that has formed me into the artist that I am today. The arts have empowered me to utilize and explore an avenue that all cultures have, allowing my work to be shared, approachable, and accessible to all kinds of viewers. And to share in the joy that my wearable pieces bring to my models, boosting their confidence, making them smile or do a little dance, letting loose from their composed selves, even if it's for a small moment. Most importantly, the arts have empowered me to connect to my culture in my own way, showing my family that I am proud to be who I am, to come from the culture that I come from, never having lived in the country, and that I have no shame or embarrassment to embrace, share, and to continue to learn about it, and to carry this on with me with pride and strengthened admiration as long as this life will have me. But enough about me. Let's talk about you. Here's the takeaway. Love what makes you you. Explore it. Rep the communities that you identify with, genetic data to back it up or not. Respect them. You will experience conflict, internally and externally, and maybe even have periods of time of suppressing what makes you you, with the addition of people making assumptions solely based on your appearance. You may be challenged, for better or for worse, in your interpersonal connections, familiar, platonic, and romantic. But strive to share and educate in whatever way that may be. Foster and embrace diversity. Remain open to learning about and experiencing the identities of others. I thank Towson University's Asian Arts and Culture Center for providing me with the opportunity to participate in their virtual storytelling festival. And I thank you for being present with me virtually, allowing me to share myself with you through my art, and in this rare instance, with my voice. Thank you.
Wow. Can I just take a minute? Like, I need a breath after that one. That was absolutely, absolutely amazing. Like, oh my God. Aside from the amazing pieces that you make, which I admit, I've only seen one or two, and then some of them were very new to me in this video. Just your story, your composure, the way you presented yourself. And I know I saw some comments about your posture, and I was thinking the same exact thing. I was like, how did she do it? But oh my gosh, no, thank you so much for being here, for sharing this story. It was absolutely amazing. I don't know, my breath is taken away just from the story itself, from the artwork. It's absolutely amazing.
I appreciate it. It was a lot of work, but I'm happy to have done it. If you hadn't reached out to me, I probably wouldn't have done something like this. So very appreciative.
I am so glad that I did. Because when we first started curating this event, I was like, I really want to see some of our Tiger Pride, like our Towson students in this, because I was also in the art department. So then like I knew so many students. So I was like, who am I still in contact with who would be a good fit for this? And then I think you were one of the top names. Like you were top two. I was like, oh my God, I need to get this. I need to send this to her and hopefully she can submit. And I'm so, so glad that you were able to pull together and put this together. It's absolutely amazing. Thank you so, so, so much. Shout out to our audience members. The chat was so active. That makes me so happy. Like you guys, you audience members, you guys are giving me so much energy right now. I love it. I am not a French teacher. Do I look like a French teacher? I got a question. This is the first time I actually have received a question. Oh wait, no, I take that back. That was for Karen. My apologies. Moving on. So again, audience members, if you have any questions for Adrianna, do not hesitate to put them in the chat. I will try to get to them. Again, like I said, this chat's very active, so it scrolls really fast. So if I miss your question, I'm so sorry. But I have a quick question for you. Do you feel like now that the Trinidadian and Caribbean community, do you feel like it's growing in like your area? Do you feel like there are more people that you can identify with that have kind of made it a little easier than it was back when you were in elementary, middle, or high school, or even college, to just kind of, not necessarily blend, but just to have those people that, feel the same way as you, have the same experience as you?
Right. So in this area of Baltimore, no, I don't think that the Caribbean population has necessarily increased, but I guess I am now like finding my way, or like finding those pockets, finding those people. But within my own friend group, I mean, especially from Towson, like a lot of those friends do have like one generation up tied to a different country, or they were even born there and came here. So I have like people to have those conversations with and everything. So I mean, I wouldn't really say that, my Caribbean friend group has increased, immensely. I probably have like five, five, or like a small group that I feel like I've been able to connect with pretty well. And that, honestly, that wasn't even in college. Like I had a friend that said, you know what, let's make a Caribbean Facebook group and let's go out to different events and stuff like that. So that was like a nice thing that came of the one friend that I found at Towson. It managed to grow a little bit. So yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I'm so sad to hear that the community kind of hasn't grown, but you and your group, when COVID is over, can visit me in Northern California. And then, because they have a huge Caribbean festival that happens, and I have not been yet, but I've heard that it's very, I think the word that one of my coworkers used was culturally accurate. Although, again, I have never been. That was the word they used. I've never been, but you guys, once COVID is over, just catch a flight and then we'll hit it up.
Honestly, like we're not even, our little group wasn't exclusive. Like we have our I'm just going to say it. We have our white friends, we have our Asian friends, we have our, our Black friends that aren't of any Caribbean descent. We like bring everybody with us when we go to the whatever we're doing, whether it's a fete, carnival downtown, like some other party. We're inclusive. We want to spread the culture. We want to, share and everything. So.
Oh yeah, no, I love that. Bring as many people as you want. We'll book a hotel block, and we'll be fine. We'll get a discount somewhere. But that's awesome. We do have a few questions in the chat. So someone is asking, I think it was Julia again. Thank you so much for sending another question our way. But how do you make the time, with your personal life, with your work, and then, creating your art? So how do you manage your time?
I stay up really late.
Lots of caffeine.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think I don't even think about it at a certain point. Like it's just something that I need to do. Like I need to create, I need to get this idea out. I need to explore this quote unquote trash that I want to transform into some art piece. So I make the time. If I seem like I don't have the time, I'll cancel plan on a friend. I will not eat dinner with my parents. I will like make the time to make whatever it is that I want to do. So yes, I just carve it out. I want to make it happen. So yeah.
No, that's awesome. Sometimes when something's your passion, like you can't let it go. It's like an itch. Like
Yeah.
it's like and until you get it done, it's just gonna stay there. So
Exactly.
like no, I totally get it. That makes total sense. I'm sure everybody is very sad that they can't see you, but your amazing artwork speaks for itself. We have a question from Charlie Taylor. He says, big ups, Adrianna. What's a traditional Trini dish everyone needs to try and a musician we should spin?
Okay, so
I'm going
double.
to have to write this down in a
Yes,
second.
take notes.
I'm going to take notes.
So doubles is like the main easy quick thing. So it's like 2 pieces of like flatbread, but it's kind of puffed up like naan. Think like naan, but like 2, and then chickpeas and curry on the inside, or roti. And roti could be like filled with anything. It could be like shrimp roti, chicken roti. So either one of those. And then was it a musical artist?
Yeah, musician, yes.
I mean, one of the most popular is Machel Montano. I can put it in the chat. Very
Yes,
popular.
please.
Does a lot of crossovers into like American music. So, but
See,
there's,
I am writing it down.
yeah, honestly, once you type in Machel Montano, you will find a lovely world of other artists to experience and explore. Desha Garcia, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So do you cook any food? Like, do you know how to cook any traditional Trini food?
I know how to make roti now. And
Yes.
I'm sure my mom's watching this like, yeah, that's all she could brag about. But you know what?
Is it okay? So South Asian culture, it's so important. Like, there's this whole thing about how like it has to be absolutely round. Like you cut it with a
Yes, I was
like
just
one of
about to
those
say
things. So
that.
is it round?
Roti is round. Not
Yes.
round.
Perfect.
Roti is round.
I love it. I'm so proud of you because if nobody else here has ever made roti, it is hard. It is very difficult to keep it round,
Keep it stretched
especially when you make the ones that have filling in them.
Well, I don't do that. I don't like the ones filled with things. It's too messy for me. But yes,
Well, if
roti-
you, I got you. Like if you ever want to eat them, I just come to my kitchen. I got you. Don't expect, I can't guarantee they'll be round though.
I won't judge.
I appreciate that. I have a question from Carmel M. If this isn't your full-time job, why not? And then what is your full-time job?
Okay, so my interest in the art is more wearable art based, and I feel like you have to like know certain people. You have to. It's not basically it's not a clear cut path. So I'm still trying to navigate that and see what my opportunities are, especially during COVID. I feel like the entertainment arts industries have kind of been decimated to a certain extent. So I'm trying to navigate and figure out what I can do with it, because I'm not going to let it go. Like I still love it. I love what I do. I'm going to keep doing it. But my full-time job right now is a project manager and Spanish translator for a company that basically does evaluations for people trying to obtain work and student visas coming to the US. So I oversee the translations department. And it's on par with what I went to college for. I majored in Spanish, art, and minored in business. So it goes along with my interests, but honestly, I mean, like it funds the sculptures, it funds the transportation of the sculptures, it funds,
All
it's
of the material, everything, all
process.
of the above.
Yeah. So I'm happy with the full-time job and this on the side, and would like to have this rise to the level of the full-time job at some point.
Well, fingers crossed. I think it's so admirable what you're doing, who you're working for. So big kudos to you. And then fingers crossed that, yes, that this can kind of, become your full-time thing one day. Like, I would be so, so happy for you. Because just even listening to your story, I was getting such a high. So I know. I know I'm being weird. Let it be. But
I'm glad.
no.
I wanted the talk to inspire, to, make people feel proud about where they come from. And if they don't feel like they can identify with where they come from, that they can just feel pride in what you have passion about, or passion towards. So I like that it sparked this excitement in you.
Yeah,
and the people in
it
the
did. Oh yes, that chat is so, so active. I cannot keep up with the comments. So you did a good, like, we all know you did a good job. You did amazing.
just scroll and see. I want to make sure I answer everybody's questions.
Yes, there are quite a few. So I will definitely give you the time now to go ahead and maybe either privately message, direct message, or just within the chat answer to everybody. But thank you again so, so much for being here. I have appreciated it so much. You have such an amazing story of such amazing art. So, so glad that I was able to convince you to submit for the festival. And I hope that if we ever do this in the future, that we can have you on again. Fingers crossed. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So I would like to present to all of you our third and unfortunately final storyteller for the evening. I know, good things always come to an end, unfortunately, but I'd like to introduce Geethanjali Javed. Geethanjali is an ex-teacher, a current educator, and a storyteller. She considers herself to be an ambassador of peace. She has always strived to spread positivity, love, and joy wherever she goes. And likewise, with her stories, she aims to bring people closer to each other. Geethanjali brings us a personal story, one that superficially involves what she believes to be all three major religions. So without further ado, Geethanjali.
So from early morning India to good evening or good night America.
Yeah, thank you so, so much.
So Geethanjali Javed, the storyteller. துதி போர்க்கும் வல்வினை போம் துன்பம் போம் நெஞ்சில் பதிப்போர்க்கு செல்வம் பலித்து கதி தோங்கும் நிஷ்டையும் கைகூடும் நிமலருள் தங்க ஷஷ்டி கவசம் தனை. This Hindu mantra I kept reciting at the age of 3 or 4. And my parents were very proud of me. As I started to age at the age of 4 or 5, I started asking my father questions about Hindu deities. I would ask my father, Father, where is that costume and the jewelry which the gods and goddesses are wearing? From which shop do they buy? And who is their tailor? This question of mine flabbergasted my father. He could not convince me with an appropriate answer. Years passed, I was put up in this big Catholic convent. I immediately fell in love with the church. The statues of Mother Mary and baby Jesus and the bell. I was so keen on visiting every mass. So much so that one day I even took the holy bread. My friend, who was a Christian, saw me taking that holy bread. And she said, Geeta, did you take the holy bread? It's only for Christians. You're going to vomit blood and die. Please believe me, that night I could not sleep. I was crying and I pleaded with baby Jesus, Jesus, please don't kill me. I didn't know I should not take that bread. Please, I'm so sorry. I was just crying and crying and crying. The next day, my teacher, she called me and said, Geethanjali, that bread is reserved only for Christians and you're not supposed to take it. I said, okay, teacher. I was so happy to be alive, heart full of gratitude that thank God Jesus saved me. And then one day, I went to my father and said, Father, I want to become a nun. My father said, You mean that sister? Nun, that white dress and all that stuff? Yes, I want to become a nun. My father was shocked. He had a heart attack. He said to himself, Change the school. And from that Catholic institution, I was put in another school. It was a government school, but it was also run by a Christian trust. Luckily for my father, the church was across the road. He pretty well knew I would not go to the church every day crossing that road. I think his mission was accomplished. Slowly, though deep inside my heart, I did had the love for Jesus and Mary. Slowly, it started disappearing. Years passed, I finished my school and then came college. And with college comes love and romance. Hinduism over, Christianism over. So now comes Islam. So my boy, the lover boy whom I met, was from the Muslim community, and I fell in love head over heels. Time had come that I had to get married to him. I had to run away from the house. No other option. And then, but I laid one condition to my uh, husband, future husband. I said, I will not convert and I'm not changing my name. But in India, if you're getting married, you had to wait for 6 months, especially if it is interreligious marriage. And I was suddenly on the road with my boy. And how to get married? The only chance was me converting to Islam and getting married. That was the safest part. So I got converted and got accepted by my in laws. And in my in laws, I was not comfortable with the kind of practice they had, for I missed Mother more than the Hindu deities. I missed Mother Mary and baby Jesus. And my husband said, What is that bothering you? You ask so lovely questions. See, we worship only one God. But I said, No, I miss Mother Mary and baby Jesus. So your problem is Mother Mary and baby Jesus? No problem. They are in the Holy Quran. And I took out the chapter. And I saw one chapter dedicated to Mary. And then he followed a particular sect where the Quranic language translated into English is full of the Bible language. The names was not like Musa in Islam, it was like Moses, Noah, Mary, Jesus, Abraham. Everything was Christian names in the Quran. I thought, then only I understood the Quran is the continuation of the Bible. I was so happy. And the top of the icing was the introduction. It was the Gayatri Mantra, the first and foremost mantra of the Hindu religion, which says God doesn't have any form, He's the one and only creator. I was stumped. And then below came the Bible verse. It was all in the Quran, the introduction page. I was flabbergasted. I was deeply into love and I started practicing that sect of Islam very deeply. And I used to pick up fights with everyone, proclaiming to be my religion the best. I would fight with people on social media, Facebook, everywhere. And then, when you're truthful, when you're good, when you have so much of faith, and when you trust God, a time comes when you get a kind of enlightenment. Yes, I did have that, a kind of. And then it was like I understood. All the paths may be different, each one going in search of God. The paths may be different, but then where you reach is the one and only Creator. That what comes to the end, right? We are all searching, we are all going in search of God. We have different paths, but ultimately it's the Creator, the one and only Creator. From that moment, I stopped fighting with people and proclaiming that mine was the best. I accepted people, who they were, what they were, and I started to spread love. I realized love is God. no more fighting. And service to God is doing service to humanity, animals. That's why I even chose storytelling, so that I can spread love, happiness to anyone I like, to get that connection, to bring people closer to each other, to have that connection of oneness. I started storytelling, especially personal stories, and I get connected with people immediately. I spread love, happiness, positive vibes. That's why I'm here sitting early morning in India, spreading love and happiness to all over the world. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, AACC. Love you all. God bless.
Hi, Geethanjali. Thank you so much for sharing your powerful message. I and really admire how you have explored all of these different religions. You know, personally, being Muslim, practicing Islam, you realize that, and living in the US, right? You learn about it's such a melting pot of different cultures and religions that you end up learning a lot about all of them. And you know, the thing that you said, it's very accurate, where all of these main religions have all of these similarities, and in some places it almost seems identical. And so I'm so glad that you brought this story to us. Your journey is a beautiful one. Thank you so much for feeling comfortable enough to share your story. I know that when you share a personal story, sometimes it can be a little bit more difficult to kind of want to voice it and to bring it out and to share it. And I think it takes a certain level of courage that you have definitely shown. So thank you so much for being here. I feel like what you had to say, your story, it's important and it's relevant. And I'm so glad that everybody here had the opportunity, all the audience members and the AANCC had the opportunity to be a part of your telling of it. So thank you so much. I know that the chat again has been very active. So I will take a quick look. If you guys have any questions for Geethanjali, please don't hesitate to type it right up. We have a question from Shaylee Kynes, and I apologize if I pronounced that incorrectly. Can you give a quick overview of your story writing process?
It's just mentally, I just prepare the structure, the introduction, and how I have to end. That's it. Not a big deal, I don't think. Being a storyteller all these years, I think I have got that practice. I don't even write the script. I just mentally prepare it. That's it.
Gotcha. I feel like everybody has a different storytelling process. Some people are able to kind of do it on a whim. Other people's, like for me personally, it takes me a while. I have to storyboard, I have to outline, I have to do everything, because I myself, as some of the audience members may have seen, like I have high energy, I'm here and I'm there. So it's really important for me to be able to get my story across, for me to have everything in a nice, perfect box so that I can then share my story. But no, everybody has it different, so that's quite all right. How has storytelling changed your life?
Before I used to be very, kind of reserved and all that stuff. Now I just want to get out there, tell stories, especially personal stories, and make connection with the people, and just send the message of peace. We are all together. We are just humans, and God is one, and no issues at all. Whatever you are, wherever you are, we are all one. And I also believe countries without borders. So yeah, that's it. We are just one. We're just humans. That's it. Come on, let's all get together.
That's awesome. I love it. I personally think the arts, music, poetry, storytelling, they all can kind of open up those doors and windows that we ourselves have closed and locked up. So I'm so happy that you're now at a point where you kind of just want to let it all out for the world to hear. I love it. Well, we have a question from Carmel. Why do you think stories are so powerful?
Yeah, I think it changes the audience perspective. For example, If people think the Muslims are so narrow minded, it is not like that. I am a Muslim, I'm a practicing Muslim. You cannot wear a bindi here in India. I'm putting up a bindi. Only Hindus wear a bindi. I wear a bindi. Just to show Muslims are not like that. We have broad minded people. We are open. So it changes people's perspective when they listen to personal stories. They have to think, oh, there are people like her outside. Oh, that's good. That's good. Something for the society we are doing to bring people closer together, cutting out all that negativity and whatever is going on social media, in the countries. People like us, that's why I call myself as an ambassador of peace, though, yes, I share personal stories. Why? Because I consider myself as an ambassador of peace, and I think God has blessed me, and He wants me to be out there sharing stories and bring people closer together.
I love it. No, I absolutely agree with you. My brother's best friend is from India, and
Mhm.
he is from a region in Chennai, where they predominantly,
Oh,
yes,
Chennai.
I know.
Yeah. And
He's
Kamala
also,
Harris' mom also is from Chennai. Kamala, they're from same city. Kamala Harris. Yeah.
yes,
Mom.
she is.
Yeah.
But he's from a region where they predominantly speak Tamil.
Yeah, I speak
And
Tamil.
yeah, exactly. And so he told me that because I was asking about his experiences living in India, moving here when his whole family is there. He's completely by himself here in the US and has been for many, many years. Um, and so I asked him, and he's like, one of the biggest things about Muslims that in his particular village and his particular region, his town, his city, was that the Muslim families there will not teach their children Tamil. They will say, this is a language that you have to stay away from. And so he's hit, at least in his village, the Muslim community, they don't want to learn Tamil. And he's like, that actually, he feels set that particular community back, because he's like, there was that whole culture, that whole people that we were actually still interacting with on a daily basis, but that we were having such a hard time communicating with them. Whereas other families in that weren't Muslim in that particular community, they had no problems because they could speak Tamil, they could speak Hindi, they could speak English, and they had it much easier, versus the community that he was in. So but he says that now things are starting to change. And so I feel like, with storytelling and with the change that's coming within our generations, that we're gonna reach a point where, sharing and understanding that, we all have these similarities is just going to become easier and easier and easier. So no, beautiful. And then we're going to move on. I think we have another question from Amy Skillman, who's asking, what other kinds of stories do you tell?
I say stories from Hindu mythology, folklore, folk tales, fairy tales, Arabian tales, anything, Persian tales, anything. I just say any story. But I'm most comfortable in sharing personal stories. I think that's my forte.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I like that you share personal stories, because the one that you shared today was definitely one that I felt was extremely impactful. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, I think, yes, thank you so much. I know it's super, super late or early, however you want to
Early,
look at it there. Yes, is it now 5:30 or 5
5:30. Yeah, it's 5:30.
5:30 a.m. Yes. Oh, thank you so much for taking the time out. I don't know if you pulled an all-nighter or if you just woke up
A
after
pleasure. I was
2 hours
happy
and
to
down
share.
some
Yeah.
caffeine, but thank you so, so much for being here. It's so much appreciated. You and everybody else from Chennai who has been part of this festival has really helped bring it to the international level. We had Caroline today who really helped us bring, this event to the international level. So thank you guys so, so much for being here, for being part of this. Thank you so much, Geethanjali. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. My pleasure too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, audience, I am sorry to say that we have arrived at the end of tonight's Our Stories program. I know, I wish I had another storyteller here for you guys, but unfortunately I don't. But what I do have is I have another Our Stories event coming up next week that you guys can register for. And then you get to experience another slew, another set of amazing, amazing stories. I want to once again thank all of our sponsors for supporting this program. Special thanks to Joanna Picori and Narisa Paglunawan for handling tonight's tech, and Sabrina Mogul for managing the chat. Next week, we have the sixth and final session of our Stories Virtual Festival, featuring Lopan Murza Mohanty, Gautam Basantani, Lavyana Prasad, and Shreya Biswas. So please do join us for that. I'd like to remind you to please, please, please complete the online event survey. It is through that survey that we know that we are doing a good job, that we are bringing programs that you want to watch, that you want to see, and you want to hear. So we will go ahead and once again, put it in the chat, please, please, please. It only takes, it's a quick thing, and it would do us a great, great service. So we really appreciate it. And do show your support with a donation to the Asian Arts and Culture Center. Again, we do run our programs through memberships, through donations, and through sponsors. Even if you can only donate $1, that's completely fine, because every dollar goes a long way. Thank you all. Thank you all so, so much. And I'll hopefully see you guys all next week. And Carmen, I would like to give you a quick shout out, because you are the first person, I think, to ask me a question, and you asked me if I liked superheroes. I do like superheroes, as you can see. And what you can't see is I have a slew of superhero figurines and action figures on this wall as well. I have Mortal Kombat, Power Rangers, Batman, Deadpool, and even a metal casting of Alien. So yes, I'm very much into superheroes and into movies. And one of my favorite superheroes is probably the Scarlet Witch. So thank you so much for asking me a question. I greatly appreciate it. And I wanted to make sure I answered it at the end. Thank you all so, so much again for joining us. Thank you to our storytellers. If you are still here, you have made this program what it is. Have a good night, everyone.